listening to the FTWpodcast.com, where we talk about wrestling in all of its laughable glory. Here's a clip from this week's episode.
All right, everybody, as a treat for our listeners, we have an interview with James from botchspot.com. Say hello, James.
Hello.
All right, you do a webcomic a webcomic about wrestling. Now, I gotta ask you, at what point did you decide, you took a look at that Venn diagram and you said, yes, that's the niche I want to go after? What made you want to start that?
Well, it all started when I took a webcomics class at the Savannah College of Art and Design. And before that, I was never really interested in doing like any type of webcomic or even a comic strip. But for this class, we had to do something. And my teacher was really pressuring us to have like a comic that we could do. He was big on having an onlyness statement where you could say, well, I'm the only person who does this. So they thought like, well, I like wrestling. I don't think there are any wrestling webcomics out there. So that's something that I could do and kind of have, kind of be the only one, or at least only one that I knew of. So I wasn't even that serious about it at first. It wasn't until maybe 6 months in that I was really like, I could do this. And it turns out that there's a lot of, crossover fans between wrestling and or a lot of wrestling fans like comic books too.
That's because most wrestling fans who are really into it are living in their mother's basements. I joke, but for a while I was.
Joe. That doesn't help at all.
It is funny, actually. I thought it was funny when I was at, in art school, because I got a degree in sequential art, which is like comic books. And you'd think that comic book people would be very open to all aspects of nerddom and all those different subcultures, but everyone kind of looked down on wrestling. They're like, oh, it's fake, like that typical thing. So there's definitely some prejudice there.
Oh, that's sad. Although it does make sense. As a nerd, I know for a fact that we eat our own.
So let me ask you a question, James. Your main characters, at least it seemed like they're your main characters, and it looks like, you've done kind of split off at this point. You had Olaf and Rad Bad Da Bone.
Yes.
Okay, Olaf. How many wrestlers are crammed into Olaf? I was only thinking 2, but then I keep looking at him and going, there's got to be more than that.
It's pretty much just any time I've heard a story about like a curmudgeon old wrestler who's, so bitter at the business and, he just keeps sticking at it no matter what. And because it's really all he's good at. So it wasn't anyone specific I had in mind. It was more just kind of like this archetype of the grizzled veteran.
Okay. See, I saw a lot of the chic in him in the early comics anyway.
Yeah, he's kind of like really bitter towards the early ones, then kind of mellowed. That wasn't planned or anything. Just kind of happened.
Okay, with that going, with those characters, when you look at the wrestling industry, you do satirize it. Is there any particular wrestler storyline or anything like that when it happens, you just like start salivating and going, yes, this will be perfect? Because I noticed that you don't really take the easy route, which I really love about your comic. Is there anything that really just like, it just, 90% of the noise out there is pretty much the easy route, and you take the road less traveled, and I appreciate that. But is there anything out there that when it hits, it just hits a chord in you, and you go, "Oh, that's perfect"? Like, what is your favorite wrestler and storyline to kind of satirize?
Well, it's definitely been the whole Be a Star anti-bullying campaign for WWE. It's not really a storyline. Well, it kind of works into their storylines because it's just so hypocritical of wrestling. I mean, that's what wrestling is these conflicts and people working out with their punches and kicks. And when that first happened in Linda McMahon's whole Senate campaign, where they're going to take all this like trashy stuff that they've done and all this violent stuff and try and put a positive spin on it, I'm like, this is going to make for some great comics. I feel the happiest with having Sheamus and Mark Henry talk about how it's okay for them to be different and then beat the hell out of each other, that kind of stuff.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Are you mad at all that Mark Henry is no longer sexual chocolate?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Wasn't really watching wrestling back then, but I don't know. I actually liked his monster heel run of the past, a few months ago, and I don't know where that went. He's definitely one of my favorite wrestlers to draw, though, because he's just like a big marshmallow.
He's Mr. Stay Puffed.
pretty much. Yeah. In addition to that, anything with Vince McMahon or Triple H, anything, and I guess Triple H is kind of someone who it's tough for me to make fun of him too much because I know so many people hate him on the internet. But when something comes up about him saying something that sounds really, like he's putting down the current roster or something, I feel like I gotta say something about that because I'm not a big fan of his, but that's just me.
Okay. Now, when you look at the wrestlers and storylines, obviously that you like, are there any that are off limits, like you will not touch?
A lot of times I'd say anything dealing with death, which sounds kind of obvious, but I distinctly remember like the night that Chris Benoit's thing went down, people making jokes about that on message boards and stuff. But that'd probably be the one big thing. Even like when Matt Hardy recently went on his suicide watch or whatever, where he kept posting videos about that. I kept thinking like, I can't do a comic about this because if he turns up dead, that's going to be, something like bad karma. Like, I did a comic about Umaga getting released over drug issues, and then he died like a year later. So the comic's still up there about his last Samoan Spike popping open a pill bottle. And it's just kind of sitting there awkwardly, and I still feel weird about it. So, but then, I still make fun of Evan Bourne having his drug suspensions too.
Okay. No, I mean that's fair. I mean, it is part of the wrestling industry, and the idea that you can't exactly sweep it under the rug or turn it to a blind eye to it.
And stuff like that. Also, things like I guess fart jokes. Or something I try to stay away from, which was hard with Natalia's current gimmick. But I don't know why, but burping and farting, even when I was a kid, it's just... I don't know why people think it's funny, especially in real life. And I actually read WWE Kids Magazine for a bit. Well, I say read, I kind of...
You have a subscription, don't you?
You collect them, don't you?
Actually, I recently just stopped my subscription. Well, I got excited when it first came out because they said they're going to have comics in it. I don't know if you read it, but it was... I mean, they were just awful. It was like Matt and Jeff Hardy in space, like doing a swan.
That's where Jeff's been for a while.
Yeah, it's like Team Extreme in space, and it's like cat and dog, and I think their names were like Ring and Bell. Anyway, but hearing about it, I was kind of excited because I was like, oh, comics in a wrestling magazine. This is my shot, and then... I think that only lasted an issue, and I never canceled my subscription until now.
That's pretty sweet.
I can just imagine you're doing it like right now, because you're like, well, I better cut that out now. I don't want them making fun of me anymore. So you're like just during the interview typing it out and just canceling it online.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be sad.
Well, speaking of other comics, if you had to name any other webcomics that inspire you, which ones would you pick?
It probably sounds really obvious for a webcomic artist, but like Penny Arcade, which I think is just, I think it's one of the most read, popular webcomics. But that's one, and like The Gutters. Those are two comics that also appeal to kind of like a really focused audience. One's about video game news. The Gutters is about comic book news. And what I really like about those is not only do they make jokes about those subjects, but it also kind of like alerts people to little things they may have missed, or kind of serves as informational too. So when I saw those, that's what I really connected with. Is not only do you have to be a part of these subcultures, or at least have some interest in them to get the joke, but also might help you learn things that you haven't done before. So that's something I really try to do with a lot of botched. I mean, not all of them. There's always exceptions. Trying to stay focused and making sure it's something that only wrestling fans. Like, you have to be a wrestling fan to get, and might show people something, or maybe they just won't get it at all.
Well, that's what I was talking about when I was saying that you don't take the easy road. Like, for example, when Eric Young and ODB won the Knockouts tag titles, I on the show thought it was like the greatest thing ever. I'm like, oh, now we can have a whole mixed division in TNA, and it'd be really cool and compelling. And then I read your comic where you showed. Just like, well, women are finally respected in TNA, and that's why I moved here. And then it's just like, and now your new Knockouts Women's Tag Team Champion, Eric Young, and I'm like, Shit, that is a really good point. And that's the thing that, like you were saying, like it isn't just about poking fun or making the easy fart joke. That you are satirizing it in a way that is compelling, and it does open up new viewpoints. And unfortunately, I'm really glad that you were not on that show when I said that all I wanted was the mixed tag division.
Yeah, and that could be good too. It was just the whole way it was done with him pinning her. Yeah. Like that. Like, actually, my wife walked by and was looking over my shoulder when I was drawing that. And she's like, looks like they're having sex. And I'm kind of like, well, that's how it looked on TV, so.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, really. But thank you. I appreciate that,
Oh, no problem. Yeah, speaking of your wife peeking in, what do you use to draw Botchbot? Because I know every artist has his own thing. I mean, do you use a Syntac, do you use a Wacom, or a Wacom, however you want to pronounce it?
Yeah, I'm not sure how to pronounce it either. I always pronounce it Wacom Cintiq, but
yeah, that's how I pronounce it. But everybody has a different way to do it.
Yeah, that's what I use. And I started out traditionally, but the thing is, I draw it all traditionally, but then scan it in and keep editing it in Photoshop until I realized, well, I should just do the whole thing digitally. And then eventually I moved from Photoshop to Manga Studio, but I still color in Photoshop. But yeah, the Wacom Cintiq, and it's really great doing it digitally. It'd be hard to imagine going back. I think one of the advantages to doing it traditionally is then you can sell your pages, but I'm always a little leery about selling this too much since it's not at all, or since it is completely copyrighted material. That.
Oh, you mean because it'd be basically you're kind of like making money off of WWE and TNA's efforts. I mean, yeah, even though you are doing your own artwork and everything, without them, you got nothing. Is that where you're worried about?
Yeah, like, not that I really think that, Vince McMahon's going to be looking like, I wonder if there's any wrestling webcomics. But if if that came about, it'd just take a letter from their lawyer to shut the whole thing down pretty much. But, yeah, so I try not to, now I lost my train of thought.
No, I mean, no, it's cool. Yeah, I can understand why you'd be a little leery about trying to earn money from this. I mean, that's one thing that we're always running into. I mean, we get money thrown at us all the time, and we're always like, stop backing the truck up. We don't want to attract too much attention here.
Yeah, we want to lay low.
Yeah, under the radar, because if anything, the WWE especially, their lawyers are just the nicest people in the world and are known for just, yeah, you want to share our stuff on YouTube? You're absolutely fine. Don't worry about it. Didn't we have a takedown notice for something because we actually said John Cena at some point?
Yeah, I had videotaped a guy who was dressed up like John Cena at a local pay-per-view being aired in a bar. And I put all the tags of the pay-per-view, and we was actually taken down for copyright infringement.
Wow.
Yeah, we had a takedown notice for that. And
it was all based on keyword. That's the problem.
Yeah, but like I was telling you at the time, Joe, I mean, it wasn't like there was no lawyer. I mean, if it was either automated or it's some intern or paralegal that's just going through YouTube and just sending them out,
Oh, it's automated. It's definitely automated for the reporting. They're just looking at keywords and be like, oh. Because it was shortly before they decided to create a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but
do you
speaking
have
speaking of things that are difficult, I gotta say, James, the Randy Orton jumble you put up on your site September 9th, 2011 was the bane of my existence for one word, and that's the last scramble word, and I had a hard time coming up with it for like 2 months. I don't know why. I got the final answer. I knew the final answer. I just couldn't figure out what that word was. Although I do like the fact that one of the Randy Orton-themed words was orange.
Yeah, it had to be. Was that mid-card?
Yes, it was mid-card.
And I even got a comment on that one where they're like, mid-card, what's that have to do with Randy Orton? But now you look at WrestleMania.
Mid-card.
Mid-card, so
yep.
That's a little... apologize. Actually, I was trying to think. I need the letters, whatever letters match up in those circles, and I couldn't come up with anything other than mid-card. And then after I had posted, one of my friends was like, oh, you could use dramatic. But, it was too late, so...
Monotone? No. He's gotten that tone to him.
Good God, keep him away from the mic. Well, that's not one word.
Yeah.
Do you have any... Okay, so you got Botchbot going, and it's fantastic. Don't change a thing. Do you have any inclination of branching out, even into print, or maybe doing like, I mean, the stereotypical superhero comic, or are you going to cash in on the zombie craze that all the kids are going on about?
I have ideas for lots of ideas for other comics I'd like to do, but finding time is always kind of I mean, that's my biggest issue is finding free time. And whenever I have free time to do art stuff on, it's usually, I just feel like I've got to focus it on Botch Spot, which is really putting all my eggs in one basket, but, really just trying to make that as good as I possibly can, especially now that I'm doing not only the normal comics, but trying to do over like Olav. That kind of takes up all my time. And I've done comics for other people as well, or other organizations, or just like freelance commissions and stuff, but I don't know, it'd just be hard to find time to do any other comics, because I thought of other superhero parody ideas that I'd like to do, and I've even bought domain names for some with the intent, and like drew character designs, but actually getting down and drawing the panels and everything, it's just not enough time, never enough time.
So, if you had to book your dream match using past and present talent, who would you pick?
I think I would have to say it'd probably be Daniel Bryan versus Shawn Michaels. I think. I guess Shawn counts as past talent, even though he wrestled until just a couple of years ago. But I don't know. I'm just a huge Daniel Bryan fan right now, and.
Yes! Yes!
Not another one.
No, I agree. He's doing phenomenal work. It's just the angle they've got him in. It's just so uncomfortable. Like, it's made to be that way. They're doing a good job, but man, do I feel bad for watching it.
Yeah, I know. I kept thinking when I watch it. Usually I like to cheer whoever I like, even if they're face or heel. But when that happens, when he has that thing where he's kind of emotionally abusive, then it's kind of hard to really support him that much, like I would Chris Jericho for just being a pompous ass or whatever.
Okay,
Right.
James. Then I gotta ask you, and I didn't want to get too personal here, but it's coming out, and here it comes. Whether you like it or not, do you have a beard?
Yes.
There it is. There it is. If you have a beard, you like Daniel Bryan. I shaved mine, and now I can't stand the guy. Garvin, shut up with Team Beard. Garvin's got a beard that goes down to his navel, essentially, and he will not shut up about EY or Daniel Bryan.
Actually, yeah, I kind of like Eric Young, too, even though, I was a fan of the title. But it sounds lame, but I actually started to grow my beard when he grew his. It's not like a direct thing, but it's kind of like, well, that does kind of look cool. Well, maybe I'm a pretty big mark when it all comes down to it.
Man, we were getting one hell of a picture of you. I mean, you collect the Wrestling Kitty magazines. You grew your beard because EY did. I mean, this is cool. This is cool. We're getting a really good. We're getting a picture of James from Botch Spot as a whole and a person. I got to be honest. I think you should move away from all parks and elementary schools. All right.
It's fine. It's not,
Hey, he didn't say he had a pedo beard. It could be a nicely trimmed beard. It doesn't have to be a Grizzly Adams beard.
Like Garvin's?
Yeah. Hillbilly Garvin.
He looks like a lumberjack. Are you going to wear... Oh, man, I really want him to wear plaid when we all go to Detroit. Anyway, I'm sorry, James. I know, we're inside baseball, and this is rude to you. Anyway, okay, so yeah, Eric Young, Daniel Bryan. When you look at, who do you think is the next big superstar of WWE and TNA?
I'm thinking about it. This isn't because I'm a fan of his work or anything, but this is going way out there, but whenever I see Justin Gabriel out there, he's just such he's such pretty boy, good looks, and he's got the accent and everything. I keep thinking, if they give him the right angle and gimmick, and he has the flashy, high-flying moves, I think that could really take off for him. Especially with female fans who like him. I've heard people make comments, and I don't know. For some reason, he just strikes me as someone who could do that. In addition to guys like Cody Rhodes, I think would be big, but he's already kind of on his way.
Yeah, I figure at this point, Cody Rhodes is the safe choice for that. I would not have picked Justin Gabriel or pegged him, just because it just seems like whenever they do give him a decent push, it just doesn't. I don't know. I don't want to say it doesn't hit, but it just doesn't.
He almost just needs more mic time.
Do you really think that's what it is?
Mm-hmm. He's another guy who's got a good look. He's got a beard.
Yeah, but
that must be. Oh, I think he needs to change his hair completely. I think he needs like image consultant or something.
Well, they started calling him like the werewolf, and I'm like, really?
That's the worst name ever. I know.
Well,
especially for a high flyer.
See, well, here's the thing. All of these traits that we're talking about here can easily apply to Morrison, and look what happened to him. It was like, yeah, you can see him as the future of the company, but for whatever reason, it's just he's at a 9, not a 10. You know, he just needs that extra.
That's because Morrison performed. He didn't make it look like a fight.
Well, that's the easy fallback answer. That's what.
But it's the truth.
It is the truth. I will give you that. Well, what do you think, James? I mean, do you see that as being like maybe that's what Morrison's problem was? It might be what Justin Gabriel's going through right now.
Yeah, I could see that. I don't think he ever seemed like serious enough. Yeah, I think that was kind of his problem. He always seemed to kind of like joke around and all that. I actually kind of like John Morrison, but.
And if you're a John Morrison fan, you should probably check out YouTube and look for his match in WWFX. It was a Filipino Fed where he fought Shelton Benjamin for their world title. It was a really good match.
Really? Yeah, I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, this is probably about 3 months ago.
Shelton Benjamin. There's another guy who you figure would be, pretty preeminent in WWE, but he just never was. All right, so TNA. Who do you think is the next big up-and-coming superstar of TNA?
I thought about this for a while, and the only name that really came to mind, and it feels weird saying because he's already a champion, but Austin Aries.
Yeah.
Because I mean, he's the one reason that I look forward to watching TNA.
Okay, now...
And everybody needs a reason to look forward to watching TNA.
I know, I told him as a New Year's resolution, I wanted to be a better, more well-rounded wrestling fan, so I said that I have to watch Impact Wrestling every night, or, every week, and also Ring of Honor, which I actually like Ring of Honor. They're a Vice product, and it's hard sometimes.
It's hard to find Ring of Honor on TV. That's the problem I have.
James, I love that we're going to air this interview, and Rob, who's the ultimate TNA fan, is going to hear you describe Impact as the same as flossing. That is awesome. Austin Aries. Okay, so on the show, all of us agree that Austin Aries really needs to get out of the X Division and get into the main event title picture. Do you think that's premature, or do you think it's his time? I mean, yeah, he has held the belt for the longest, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But, I mean, do you think that he has enough heat on him and enough experience that he could thrive in the main event title picture?
Yeah, I think he's definitely at the point where he could, but just looking at the title picture right now, it just seems... So, like, their main event seems kind of... I guess it seems kind of cluttered whenever I look at it, because it's like Bobby Roode's defending against, Lance... Or not... Or James Storm, not Lance Storm.
I make that mistake often, don't worry.
Rob made the same mistake a lot.
Yeah.
He's our TNA guy, and that's what's really funny.
We gave him hell.
Too many Storms, but, James Storm or Bully Ray or whatever. So I don't know, I guess if Austin Aries, once he got up there, if he didn't get the title, then it would just be kind of in limbo up at that upper level. So I don't really mind him staying as the X Division champion for right now.
Okay.
So,
which wrestler, male or female, would you most like to have a beer with? And which one, male or female, would you like to punch in the face?
Well, not female.
Well, you can say female.
No,
there's a few females I wouldn't mind punching in the face.
Proverbially.
I mean, I actually can't. I'd get arrested, but...
it doesn't matter, Joe. I mean, once it...
Okay, who would you like to have your wife... Which... If it's a female, who would you like to have your wife punch in the face?
Okay,
there we go.
There, I will accept that.
My wife just hates Kelly with a passion, so she...
Yes!
Yay!
Her punch Kelly in the face, she'd love me forever. That would just be just like a safe thing right there. And
We'd love her.
Huh?
We'd love her forever if she did that.
Or maybe just put her arms down, but then she couldn't breathe.
Yeah, James, we have a theory on the show that Kelly's lungs like a dolphin, her blowholes are in her armpits, and she has to hold them up in order to breathe. And if she puts her arms down, she suffocates. Like, that's the theory that we have on the show.
And she has to keep squinting, no matter what.
Because it's bright. She's a mole person, is what we're getting at.
I never really noticed that until you just mentioned it, but now that's all I'm ever going to say.
It is. It really is. Every time she comes out to holla, you're going to see her arms in the air, and you're going to be like, these idiots on FTW ruined this for me.
Why is she squinting so much?
She's just always squinting. Always. Anyway, yeah, so...
so who would you like to have a beer with?
Yes.
I was going to say Daniel Bryan, but the last time I mentioned him, it wound up making me sound like a pedophile or something with the...
No, it just... Yeah, continue.
Actually, well, that really was my answer. See, it sounds but or maybe Edge. I'm a big, as we mentioned before, I think it was before we were recording. I came out to his entrance music for the reception at my wedding. So I'm a big fan of Edge's too, and just to be able to talk with him about that. Actually, one reason why I picked Daniel Bryan was because I watched the Wrestling Road Diaries DVD. I don't know if either of you saw that. It was with Colt Cabana, Bryan Danielson, and Sal, Colt's friend.
Oh,
and
right.
Anyway, but there's like different points where Bryan Danielson would talk about like the match they had and what was going through his head, and just like how like earlier in the show there'd been a lot of this type of match and the crowd wasn't into it, so he switched up his match in the main event to be this type, and just the way he thought about it just seemed really interesting to me. It's just the kind of extra level that I have to force myself to pay attention to. It'd be neat to hear someone's thoughts on that.
Wow.
That's a much better answer than I had. I just said Big Show because he seems like he would have a good time being drunk.
Yeah, I'm with that one.
It is very jovial.
Yeah, Big Show or Mankind, just because I just think they'd be fun to try and play darts with hammered.
Yeah.
And Mick Foley is apparently quite the perv. So.
Oh really?
As the rumors go.
Oh yeah, well, rumors out. Okay, so
is that
speaking
true? I'm like,
supposedly
what?
Supposedly he's got quite the porn collection, but anyway.
Well, some people collect porn. I mean, some people collect baseball cards, some people collect children's wrestling magazines, James, and some people collect porn. And I'm not equating these in any way. I'm just saying it doesn't mean anything necessarily. Speaking of wild, rampant rumors, do you think that Eric Bischoff and Vince McMahon are as dickish as we've been told to believe?
I really think they probably are for the most part, or just like or have their moments, because I think they'd have to be in those positions of power, or at least where Eric Bischoff was. Like for Vince McMahon to run that company, if he was going to be nice to everyone, he could never, fire anybody, or well, I guess you can fire people and be nice, but I think it'd really hurt the business. Because if you're going to be nice all the time to everybody, then you'd have a bunch of wrestlers not doing anything.
Yeah.
Kind of like TNA at a certain point.
So do you think when somebody gets future endeavored, Vince actually says, "You're fired"?
I think he should, because it'd give him a nice story to tell on the way out.
Well, I mean, you do have a point. At that point, in Bischoff, when he was building up WCW, and then Vince, when he took over the company from his dad, they almost have to be Darwinian themselves in order to make sure that the companies thrive. So, but you got to think, like, I'm just thinking, not just in general, like, them being kind of jerks and kind of abrasive. I mean, like, the horror stories that we hear about these guys that just do absolutely terrible things. I mean, do you really think that they're true, or do you think that they're just blown out of proportion?
I guess I'd have to think of, like, specific examples, but I'm sure it's exaggerated a little bit for Vince's character, because that line always gets blurred. To me, whenever I read any wrestling autobiographies, it's always the part that I look forward to the most, if they met Vince McMahon, is their description of him, because he just sounds totally, like the crazy dickish boss that you're talking about. I'm sure it's blown out of proportions, exaggerated a little bit, but, I'm sure they have their moments.
Okay. So, what is your favorite guilty pleasure when it comes to wrestling?
I was thinking wrestling itself almost seems like a guilty pleasure sometimes, but I guess probably just the gimmick locations or residencies, like I don't know the right way to say it, but like the Bottomless Pit or the Other Side of the Tracks or Planet Funk, Parts Unknown, that kind of stuff. It's just so stupid, but I just kind of love that goes that mile. You'll have one person from Ohio or Cleveland, Ohio, and then the other person's from the other side of the tracks or something.
I just love the fact you're bringing up a deuce and domino joke.
Like, part of me really hates those stupid gimmicks. Like, I really hate the boogeyman, but at a certain point with some of them, I'm kind of like, well, it's entertaining at least. It's better than having like a plain normal name like Michael McGillicuddy that you just forget in a second.
Well, that name is a curse word in these parts.
Yeah, anytime you're really frustrated or exasperated, it's Michael McGillicuddy. What the hell? It's just kind of like a son of a bitch, but just a little cleaned up.
Man, we haven't done that in a while, too.
No, it's been quite a while. That's because we haven't seen him on TV.
That's right, yeah, we don't really do it if he's not on TV. It's like, what's the one we got for, what was the other one? The tag team that you did, Joe.
Hall & Oates Pac.
Hall & Oates Pac! Oh, they gotta come back. Hall & Oates Pac. Scott Hall and
Sean Waltman.
Sean Waltman. Whenever they're in the news, we always Hall & Oates Pac jokes.
Okay.
Because, we're all secretly 40, and we all know exactly what band we're referencing when we're talking about that.
Didn't JBL and Michael Cole dress up as Hall & Oates for like a Halloween episode or something?
They might have.
I wouldn't put it past
Is that the one where Michael Cole got really drunk and ended up vomiting on somebody?
I think it was before that. I think it was before he turned like, heel.
Heel.
I guess. Yeah. What's the term heel? I can't remember exactly. Maybe it was maybe Simon Garfunkel. I don't know. I don't know this band. Anyway.
That's fine. So every fan has their kind of like wrestling hipster things that they're really ashamed of, like really huge into indie feds or women's wrestling, or in Garvin's case, watching NXT and Superstars. What's yours?
I did e-fetting for a while, and that's pretty, like, if that fits that bill. I don't know.
Oh, who hasn't e-fetted?
I'm sorry?
You can't prove that I ever have. Can you?
That's bull. I have proof. Yeah, we were big wrestling nerds in the aspect that we've done that too. So,
well, it's not like any of us have actually run an e-fed, right?
Right.
Well, right. You guys too?
Yes.
It's the most ridiculous thing ever. I look back on that and just think like, oh man, why did I spend that much time on?
Looking back on it for us is like last year. And we're probably going to end up...
No, it's longer than that.
Well, except for Joe.
Yeah,
Joe.
Joe.
Yeah.
Well, you were checked out basically when I was doing it. But yeah, I mean, e-fetting is very wrestling hipster. And that's almost like a rite of passage to become a mark, to where you're kind of like, I'm going to write my own storylines, damn it, because...
I'm too fat to get in the ring.
I'm too fat and or lazy to get into the ring.
Oh, yeah, I kind of like it that it's a rite of passage. That makes it sound kind of like...
Oh, it makes it sound more romantic than it actually is. All right, I'll take that, James. I'll take that.
Yeah, I kind of like that now. No, it was fun. It was just so much... I mean, there's so much politics and so many just people's personal feelings getting hurt when you didn't pick theirs and like when you rated them low, and it was like... This is like a made-up version of a telegraph sport. Like, it's so far removed, and people would still just get to take it so personally. It was
almost like there was more drama than there was on the screen. You know what? Do you have any aspirations? I mean, in the shower late at night when you just want to try and go to sleep. I mean, do you have any aspirations of actually, what it would be like if you were a professional wrestler?
Yeah, I've thought about. I used to think about that a lot. I used to think that a lot when I first was getting into wrestling. Like, oh, I wonder if I could do that. Because I'm only 5'10", so it's not really. Although now I guess that's being that rule's being broken a little bit. But
yeah.
Ultimately, no, because I've already got one thing that I'm working towards that's hard to get into. Being a comic book artist, that's just so few people are really successful at it, where they do their whole career or their whole lives. That to do another one like pro wrestling would just be, especially where your body's on the line and it's hard to do it past 40. Realistically, no, but I definitely thought plenty of times about what kind of a gimmick I would have or what kind of...
Okay, that's it. Then you got to tell us what kind of gimmick you'd have. Hey, you said it. You're the one who said it. You thought about it. I got to hear it. What kind of gimmick would you have? Would it be like, would you have like one of those joke gimmicks like the Goon or something?
Yeah, probably. See, now I can...
Yes.
Would be. It just changes all the time, God, now I can't even think of any of the good ones.
Oh, my ass, you can. You just don't want to say it. You're thinking you'd be like Da Vinci or some shit like that, where you come out in a beret with a little paint palette and everything, and you'd brush and you'd throw shit at people. I mean, that's what you...
I still think the genetic jackhammer would be a great gimmick. I mean, I know Vince said he was... But to come out with like a plethora of small children, hey, we're going back to that now. Kind of like the Godfather's hose. Just a bunch of kids follow you out like they're your children. Every week you have different children following you to the ring.
The genetic. Every time, new city, new batch of kids. You got to get out of daycare. all you're doing is just complaining about. You're just complaining about food prices. I'm gonna fit you guys in my fucking car. I can't rent a minivan.
So touching on the e-fetting and creating a comic book here, I'm going to give you complete control of either TNA or WWE, but you only have one sentence to get what you want. Like one sentence, and it is written in stone for that company till the end of its existence. What is it?
TNA has to take their shows to other locations in the Impact Zone. Does that work?
That works. Okay. TNA
that
has
works.
to tour. That's fine. Now, what about for WWE?
Oh.
Yeah?
It's kind of hard because I'm actually pretty happy with WWE right now.
Shut up about Twitter?
Yeah, that could be a good one.
Really? There's not one thing you'd like to change about WWE.
Well, there's just so many things where it's like I might not like it, but other people. Well, okay. Here's one. WWE, they can no longer have title matches opening a pay-per-view.
Oh, that is a good one.
There you go.
That's pretty solid.
That is a solid answer. I thought you were going to take like the easy route and go with like the Divas division and go like, well, if you got double Y or you got double X chromosomes, it doesn't mean you can be forgotten or something like that. But I like that. You can't curtain jerk with a title. That's cool.
Yeah. Because I'm just totally expecting for probably Sheamus Daniel Bryan's match to be opening WrestleMania. That's my prediction for that.
Well, here's the thing. By the time we air this, WrestleMania would have already happened. So I thought that match, whatever it was that opened, was adequate. And can you believe Rock Cena ending the way it is with the ATV and the Bears? Go figure, right?
I was quite surprised, especially when Undertaker's streak was broken by The Miz in that impromptu match.
Oh, and Randy Orton versus Triple H in that impromptu baby oil match? What the hell?
The run-in by David Otunga, sliding in the ring.
I'm not gonna lie to you. Miz breaking Undertaker's streak because I'm from Cleveland. He's from Parma. I wish they'd bill him from there. But yeah, he's from Cleveland. The idea of the Miz breaking Taker's streak, I'm nursing a semi just because of that. Homeboy hero taking down Taker. I'll take it.
Yeah, that'd probably make the internet explode. Angry.
I don't care what they do with the Miz as long as they start selling the inflatable Awesome.
Oh yeah,
I would put that on my house.
Because you didn't rip out the bushes, so you can just put it right there instead.
Great idea. I'm gonna have to go tell the missus that as soon as we're done.
Yeah, most people have like inflatable Santa Claus or something around Christmas time. You've got.
I'm awesome, and the letters are huge, right? They're like 7 feet tall.
Yeah.
They're.
I was actually at WrestleMania last year, and we saw them. That's when he came out with it, and it was just amazing watching these people just run out and fight him, and then after his match just quickly dive in, pull the letters down as fast as humanly possible, just barely making it in time. And then, yeah, they're big letters.
Oh yeah,
Wait.
I watch. We're big hockey fans in our house, and one of the local teams, it's an Ontario Hockey League team, that's 16 to 20-year-olds, and every game they inflate this archway with a whale on top, just for the skaters to come out. And as soon as they come out, these guys are unzipping these huge zippers to let all the air out as soon as possible, so they can start the game. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I guess all the work's worth it for the inflatable stuff. I mean, Awesome's pretty cool anyway.
Yeah, Awesome's pretty awesome. Can't say anything better than that.
Joe, that's
pretty swell.
All right. So time for some plugs. James, you are the writer, CEO, and drawer extraordinaire of botchspot.com. Is there anything else you want to promote? Twitter, Facebook, anything like that?
Yeah, I think it's facebook.com/botchspot. I'd have to check that. That sounds awful that I don't know, but there's a link to the Facebook page on there. And I have Twitter, but I'm trying to get into it really. It's just at botchspot for Twitter. Though I don't really use it. That's something I gotta get into. That's something that seems like everyone needs to do now to have anything online business-wise, and it's just hard for me to actually devote to it.
You find it difficult to have to go on that thing and, let's say, live tweet a show every week and promote all the time?
Yeah, to type words and characters. And...
Yeah, it's kind of a pain in the ass, isn't it? See, guys, I'm not the only one.
No, it don't, well, because I feel like the pressure to be clever all the time, and then sometimes I'm just not. Sometimes I want to be off, and just not have to think about anything that anyone has to see.
See, that's exactly it. The fact is, it's 140 characters, so you're right. You have to feel like you have to be clever. And the fact that you are on there and you're making a comic where you're funny, people would just naturally assume that you're just like this pithy, guy all the time. And so if you don't deliver on that all the time, people get upset.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'd expect. And even sometimes when something happens, like I'm trying to live tweet during, like a good example is Raw, and The Undertaker made his mistake where he said WrestleMania is April 21st. Like when I tweet about did Undertaker just say that? But then everyone else is, a million other people have already tweeted about, Undertaker being senile, not knowing when WrestleMania is, and April Fool's Day jokes, and I'm too late. With seconds, I'm too late.
Yeah, exactly. And even then, it's just so much noise that you got to fight through. So I'm just saying, look, James, I appreciate that you're on my side with the fact that maybe I don't want to sit there Monday night on my computer and just tap away and write dick jokes for 2 hours about wrestling. Or 3 hours. Shit.
Yeah, a little bit. Tonight, this won't air on. Will this air on a Thursday? You don't know yet. I don't know if I'm supposed to sell like SmackDown, where they don't say that's filmed on a Tuesday or something. But I'll just say, tonight.
Are you afraid of breaking kayfabe on this interview?
This is serious business. I gotta.
He thinks we're do serious business.
Let's just say on Thursday nights, certainly not tonight, or maybe it is.
Well done.
I'll let the listeners decide. I've got to do my comic, and I'm focused on doing that, and then to tweet during Impact Wrestling, it's like this extra thing.
It's a job. And the other thing is, if you're live tweeting, yeah, it's fun and everything. Although it is kind of fun. I made a joke at one point on the podcast where I said that The Rock coming back, WWE marketing is treating it like the abandoned father that's coming back, and he's bringing a Wii, and now we're so excited. So now some of our fans are on Twitter all the time trying to get he's bringing a Wii trending. So I gotta be honest. The inside jokes going on Twitter and finding those from your fans and friends of the show, that is very cool. So if I do have to, if anything for Twitter, that is one thing for it. To be able to go on there and see people making references to your stuff, it is kind of cool.
Well, that is pretty awesome. That is really good to have that.
Yeah.
That happen. I'll get into I really need to make like a little Twitter feed for my website too. That's like I just did a big update for my site. That's probably the next thing I'll have to do.
All right, cool. So Twitter, obviously. Facebook.com/botchedspot. That's BOTCHEDSPOT. And botchedspot.com. Excellent comic, man. Always appreciate every time it updates. It's one of my favorite destinations on the information superhighway. And now that I said that, I can officially go shoot myself.
Keep tearing into Randy Orton, man. That's good stuff.
And then we're gonna go on the information superhighway.
Well, thank you.
I love the little Randy comics.
Oh yeah. Thanks. Yeah, Randy Orton. He's
awesome.
Just funny because he's just so serious that anything could make him funny. And actually, not to spoil anything, though it won't really be. This will be old news by the time this airs, I guess. See, it's breaking kayfabe again. But turning to Randy Orton, you might have liked the comic strip from last week. For your listeners, for you tomorrow. If that makes sense.
Okay, now I am so confused. What day are we at? Today is...
When will then be now?
Okay.
Soon.
So WrestleMania hasn't happened, right? I haven't missed that?
I don't think so.
Is this what it's like to be high? Because I don't like it.
Tomorrow's comic has to do with Randy Orton, is all I'm saying.
Okay, that works.
Okay.
That fits. We'll go with that one. Awesome, man. All right.
Okay, and one quick thing, I'll say that it's so stupid. I don't even want to say it. I got an ambulance going by. I don't know if you guys can hear that, so that's gonna throw anything off, or I just sound like a crazy person's hearing stuff. Okay, I hate to admit this, but because it's so stupid. One of my first ideas for a wrestling gimmick, I don't even know why I thought this would be funny, but it'd be to say I was from the UK and I was English, but I'd still speak with an American accent. So I'd come out and talk about wanting fish and chips and stuff in a very American accent. It's just so stupid. I don't even know why. That's
all you're doing is talking about all the stereotypes, oh, I'm so bad, I have such horrible teeth.
Or I'm thinking about my match. Just.
I'm gonna come down on you like we came down on India in 1754.
I'm gonna ring your bell like Big Ben.
Yeah. Just you actually come out. You come out like JBL. You come out instead of a car, it's a London cabbie, and you get out. And it
would have been perfect with a UK flag, but I could have gone that route and made millions of dollars as the American.
I'm gonna be honest, this is not a bad gimmick. There are worse out there. Garvin showed me when ECW debuted on Sci-Fi, the zombie match. It was against Sandman. It lasted all of 30 seconds. This is what WWE led with when they bought ECW and put him on Sci-Fi for the first time. The first thing that happened was this guy came out of some, I don't know, indie wrestler no one's ever heard of. For a second there I thought it was Dusty Rhodes. But he comes
What, the vampire?
No, it was, who was it? Oh,
well, I mean, the vampire was Kevin Thorne.
No, it wasn't the vampire. It was the zombie. He came out in shredded shirts and everything, walked out like a zombie, actually high-fiving people at one point, which I thought was great. Gets in the ring, and then Sandman shows up, proceeds to get blisteredly hammered all the way down to the ring, and then just beats the guy to death with a Singapore cane, and that was the intro to ECW.
Well, don't forget the zombie's awesome promo before the match.
Yeah, just him saying brains. It was him growling into the mic and saying brains. So, I want to tell you, James, the American bread is a much better gimmick than that.
Well, yeah, after you put it like that, it sounds a bit better. So I guess it's okay. Okay, that's my good idea then. I'm proud to admit it.
Well deserved pat on the back. You can go ahead and do that for yourself, buddy. All right, man. Once again, James Botchbot, thank you very much for coming out. We enjoy the comic. Everybody go read it. And do you sell merch at all? Send him money. Send him lots and lots of money. Do you have merch linked onto your site at all, or is that something else that's planned coming up?
That's something else I keep thinking about, doing a book or something like that. But not yet. But I have ads, so if people look at it, then that's. I'm sorry. I keep getting. See, now this is gonna break kayfabe again. I keep getting distracted by the chat down at the bottom where it's talking about my Twitter. Apparently, I don't know my.
Show note now. Botchbot. BOTCHEDSPOT. I know, Garvin tends to think that when he talks we should all stop and listen, but then he yells at us when we do this. He's like, no, you guys can't do this, you can't do anything. Anyway, we gotta close the interview or else this thing's gonna run. James from Botchbot, thank you very much for coming out, man. We'll look for your Check out his comics, check out his Twitter, his Facebook.com/botchbot, Twitter.com/botchbot. You know, any merch you got coming out, we'll definitely make sure that we buy it. Send him lots of money and lots of support because the comic is absolutely fabulous. Thank you very much for coming out, man. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Thanks for having me. It's been awesome. Really great.
Well, you've heard our thoughts, but now we want to hear from you. You can find us on Facebook and Twitter, and even join us live every Tuesday at 8 p.m. at the FTWpodcast.com.